Hi everybody, welcome back. Hope you're all having a great day. So I'm going to take a break for a few days from my Ender 3 videos, my printing in nylon video, and we're going to do another Fusion 360 beginners tutorial. And today this time we're going to make a spice rack. If any of you have watched my previous videos, you may remember me mentioning that my entire kitchen and dining room are packed up and gone for some remodeling we're doing because we had a flood end of last year. So everything's gone, so we're kind of starting over. So spice rack has gone with it. So I found these small plastic bottles of spices at the grocery store. They're inexpensive. The bottle's very simple. It's refillable. And I don't need a giant spice rack, and I want it next to where I cook, and the great big giant one doesn't fit there. So here's what I have in mind. If you can see this, I hope you can. My bottle has a 46 millimeter diameter, so I'm going to make a 48 millimeter hole. I need 105 millimeters in height for it, pretty much, although I think I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. The We're going to have 4 bottles wide, and there's going to be 2 tiers. And the walls are going to be 3. So 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3, and 4 times 48 comes to 207. And then it dawned on me I need a wall coming up. And I could have done it on the outside, but I'm going to add it in, so I need 6 more millimeters, so that came to 213. Same this way, 48 plus 6 and plus 3 for that back wall. Now this down here, this down here, we're looking at it from the front as if it was hanging on the wall and we were looking at it. Here's our bottom row. Here's our top row. There's going to be a bevel here because otherwise this won't print. I'm going to bring it up about 50 millimeters for a couple mounting holes. I may write something cute here, but then again, you won't be able to see it, so maybe I'll write it down here. And I'm going to put the holes in between the bottles. I'm going to make some reinforced mounting screws. And I want 108 millimeters between the bottom of my hole and the bottom of this bevel. So let's go over to Fusion 360 and let's get started on it. And I'm going to probably make this in short pieces, hopefully 3 pieces, maybe 4 videos at the most. So over to Fusion, and got my Logitech camera adjustment software there. There's Fusion. First thing I do when I open up Fusion is I come to my view cube in the upper right. I right click on it and I make sure I'm set to perspective with ortho faces. So let's sketch. I'm going to create a sketch button right up here, and that brings up my planes, top, bottom, left, or top and left and right plane, and it's actually bottom and all the others too. Because we don't have an object, a surface to sketch on, we need to sketch on a plane. And it doesn't really matter what plane you start on, but if you start on the left or the right plane, then that's going to control how it appears when somebody loads it into a slicer. Because I'm designing for a 3D printer, I want to design it so that when you load it into Cura, it loads the way that I want you to print it, so that it doesn't fail, and then I have to say, oh yeah, you were supposed to rotate it 90 degrees. So let's do it the way we want it to print. So this, what they call the top plane, I'm looking at as the print bed surface. So there we have it. Now we're going to click Sketch, and we're going to go to center diameter rectangle, or center rectangle, not center diameter, that would be a circle. And we're going to move our pointer until it locks into the center. We're going to left click once, and we're going to drag out. Now we're going to type some dimensions in. And I said 57, and now I'm going to hit tab to move it up to the upper dimension, and I said 213, 213, and we're going to hit enter, and it locks it in. Now, to move this around, the right mouse button, if you click and hold the right mouse button, you can rotate it. If you hold the center mouse button, you can move it around, and of course mouse wheel zooms in and out. So that being said, we're going to click E on the keyboard, and we're going to click our rectangle, and we want to come up 15 millimeters. I can type 15 in there, or I can drag my little arrow up, and it'll probably go up 5 at a time. It won't give me 15. Okay, I'll type it in. 15, there we go. And there is the basis for what we're going to be doing. Now, I want 4 holes in it, so I'm going to draw a circle on it. So the first thing I want to do is click my Create a Sketch button again. And this time I have a surface, so I'm not going to use the plane. So I'm going to click on my upper surface here. Let's move it over to where we can see it a little bit better. Zoom in a bit. And I'm going to hit C for circle. I could also come, of course, up to Sketch, Circle, and Center Diameter Circle. Since I have an even number of circles, I'm not going to lock into this center. If I had 5, I'd probably draw a center one. And I'll talk a little more about that later. But I'm just going to make a center diameter circle over here someplace. And I know I want it 48. And enter. Enter again to lock it in. And you'll notice my circle is blue. That means my circle can still be moved around. So I need to dimension that because I want to lock it down. So I'm going to hit D for dimension. I am going to click my circle. I am going to click this wall out here. Oops, I missed the circle. There we go. So it wants to know what dimension I want from the center of this circle to this outer wall. Well, I know my radius of my circle is 24, and I know I have a 3 millimeter wall, plus I know that I've got another 3 millimeters coming up. Well, I know I want it 3 millimeters from the wall. And am I making sense? I want it 3 millimeters from the inner wall, and then there's a 3 millimeter wall. So I want it to be 24 plus 6, which is 30. I hope that made sense. I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to type in 30 and enter. And now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to click my circle, and I'm going to click this wall this time. And I'm going to do 30 again. That's 390. I don't want 390. Okay, so now my circle is locked in place. And you'll notice to my front where I have no wall that's coming up above the upper surface, I've got 3 millimeters. And to these here where I do have an inner wall coming up above the level, I have 6 millimeters. So let's extrude this. Oh, and look, my view changed. I hate it when it does that. We'll fix that momentarily. I'm going to hit Escape and come up to my view cube, change orthographic back to perspective with ortho faces. And I like that way better. If things don't look right to you, you will try and go fix things that aren't broken. And at least I will. So that's why I want things to look how I expect them to. So I'm going to hit E to extrude again. I am going to click on that circle, and now I want to come down. I made this 15 millimeters thick. I want a 3 millimeter bottom wall thickness. So I am going to make this minus 12. And I'm going to hit enter. If the minus sign wasn't there, it would stick up 12 millimeters. So there is my first hole. Now I could dimension every hole that way, but you know what? Let's work smart, not hard. We have a tool in Fusion called a pattern, and let's use that to make our other holes. So I am going to come up to Create, and then down to Pattern, and I don't want a rectangular pattern here. If I was making something that had holes in both directions, then I would use rectangular pattern. Or if I was making something round, then I would make circular pattern, but I'm not. I'm going to pattern on a path. So over here in our toolbox, it asks what pattern type are we want, and it's set to faces. I'm not patterning a face here, I'm patterning a feature. So we want to change faces to features. And now it wants to know what feature do you want. Well, I can't click here. That won't work. So I need to come down to my timeline. Remember, Fusion keeps a timeline of every step you've made. I'm going to click on my extrusion for that hole. And now it wants to know path. Now it's going to give me an error message. Watch. Fusion and I have gotten into a couple of minor battles over this. Not the company who makes it, just me and the software. And I'm going to click this line as my path, and it's going to give me an error message. It does almost every time. It also works almost every time. When it hasn't, I have put a construction line down to use as a path to get around it. But if you know why it's doing that, let me know. I have honestly never really tried to figure it out since it works almost every time. And when it doesn't, the workaround is so simple. So I want to change, let's drag it out a little bit. Just when I do that, I will get some other entries over here. My quantity wants to be 4, not 3. And I want to change my distance type from extent to spacing. And one direction is how I want to go. I only want to go in this direction. Remember I said if I had 5 or 7 or 9 holes, I could have gone to the center, and then I could have changed my direction to symmetric, and I could have drug my holes off in both directions. But I can't do that in this case. So now it wants to know what my distance is going to be. So I want to go the size of my hole plus the size of my wall thickness, and that's going to be 48 plus 3. So my distance type is spacing, and my distance amount is going to be 51. And hit enter on the keyboard, and there we have it. Now you'll notice that I have my 3 millimeter distance from the hole to the front, but I have 6 millimeters from the hole to the side and from the hole to the back. That's because I am going to bring an inner wall up above the level of the surface. Now eventually I will be also adding in fillets and the second tier and some reinforced holes for screws in case we want to screw them, or maybe holes for hooks. These bottles are really light. I have made these type of racks for atomizers for people who vape, and for glass bottles for people who vape, and I have put more mounting holes and reinforced mounting holes in them. But these bottles are really light, and there's only going to be 4 up above. So even if I hung it, I don't think it would really need more than 2 holes. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below, and I'll answer as best I can. And if I have helped you out, or if you've enjoyed my videos, please like and subscribe. I think we are at the end of the sale on that G-Tech $249 two-color printer, but I am going to contact my person at GearBest tonight and see what other kind of coupons I could get. I have some affiliate links below. If you use them, I would really appreciate it. It doesn't cost you any more, and it does help me out quite a bit. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in a day or two, and we'll get the next part of this done. Have a great day now. Bye.